Okay, we are already in session, so we're just resuming, if you will, so we won't need to call the roll. I think we can move directly into our first agenda item, which would be the approval of minutes from the regular meeting of March 7th, the special meeting of March 21st, and the regular meeting of April 4th. I'll accept a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any comments or additions, corrections? Mr. Gaynor, would you call the roll?
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Ms. Ray?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Okay. We got a number of awards and recognitions tonight, thank goodness. We may be without an audience if you guys weren't here. So thanks for coming, and maybe you'll see how the school board operates, and you'll be so enthralled you'll come back again. Dr. Dixon?
Thank you.
Okay, good evening and welcome. And what a nice welcome it has been with our very own Heights High musicians providing entertainment for us tonight. The group you just heard perform is called Swing State. And they played for us at our State of the Schools address last month. And they were such a big hit, we invited them to come back tonight. So those talented musicians are William Van Den Bogart, Jeremy Kaufman, Andrew Bell, Nicholas Edwards, and Ian Nocente. So thank you for being here tonight as our guests, and let's give them another round of applause. So tonight we have two Noble Elementary fourth graders with us who have not only overcome some recent challenges, but have exceeded their academic goals. So if we can have Rogina and Shamika Rai are English language learners from Nepal and are also part of Noble's peer-to-peer group. Their teacher, Ms. Wendy Craven, recently told us that these students surpassed the Lexia grade 4 levels and completed Lexia Core 5 in its entirety. Lexia is a program that provides explicit reading instruction and is available to all Cleveland Heights University Heights English language learners, students. In this year alone, these two students spent more than 3,800 minutes working toward this goal. So they are outstanding students who have surpassed their English proficiency hurdles and truly nurtured a growth mindset. So ladies, if you please join me. Come on up. Wendy's not here? Okay, she's not here. She's not here? You're fine. Just come right. You think she's coming later? Okay, so when she comes, we'll recognize her later. So if you have Ms. Craven, if you would come up, please, and the principal, Ms. Rachel Coleman.
You're on.
Okay, so tonight I'd like to invite Dr. Brian Williams to speak. Dr. Williams is the coordinator of the alternative program at the Delisle Options Center, and he's going to tell us about a few wonderful programs happening at Options and recognize the students who recently went on a trip of a lifetime. So Dr. Williams, if you come up, please.
Good evening, everyone. 3 years ago, we started an Odyssey program that was designed to provide mentoring and support services for our middle school students. And this year, we enhanced upon that program. We wanted to provide exposure opportunities for our middle school students, and we established partnerships. And we have our partners that are here with us today from McGregor Home, Judge Michael Ryan, and Dr. Jackson from Roxborough Elementary School. We wanted to place Judge Michael Ryan. Juvenile, correct. Oh, I'm sorry. From the McGregor Home, Judith Simon from McGregor Home, and then we have Judge Michael Ryan from Juvenile Court. We know that. And then Dr. Jackson from Roxborough Elementary School. We wanted to place our middle school students in environments in which they would understand the power of their presence and having the opportunity to have a profound effect on others as well as their own decision making. And so we extend our gratitude to our partners that are here with us this evening as they helped us to accomplish that mission. Mr. Holland, who carries out the day-to-day operations with regards to Odyssey, getting them together on their field trips, working with them on a day-to-day basis, and then also working with them when they return to their respective middle schools. So at this time, I want to introduce Mr. Holland, and he will introduce our partners.
Try to make sure that I know that it is juvenile court. Yeah, I know, absolutely. Obviously, successful programs are the result of successful partnerships. And the first person that I would like to have come up and speak today is a person, when I presented this opportunity to her that we were going to have 7th grade middle school students come to her McGregor House nursing home. Most people, 7th grade students, they would turn and run. But maybe she wanted to turn and run, but she chose not to. She listened and she allowed us to bring our students in. And as a result, we truly, truly have developed an incredible partnership that I think both ways went pouring life into our elderly and also them pouring life right back into our youth. So I'd like to have the coordinator of volunteer services from the McGregor House, Ms. Judith Simon, come up and tell a little bit about her experience with our Odyssey students. Give her a hand, please.
Thank you, Mr. Holland. I am the Director of Volunteer Services at McGregor Nursing Home, and we have many, many programs for our volunteers there, from intergenerational programs such as this to seniors coming to groups like, I would love to have that band come on over to McGregor and entertain our seniors. We have a long-term care nursing, assisted living, and senior housing. There's 3 different types of living there. So when Mr. Holland called me and told me of his group, it's my job to try and match them up to the proper job or assignment in the nursing home, something that would be fulfilling to both the students and to the residents. So when he brought over a group of young ladies, we had them do what we called a little spa. And we had them do polish changes for our lady residents, for our women. So we tried to have the young ladies that he brought, we matched them up with our women, and they came in and they didn't do just polish changes, oh no. My eyes were just popping out because these young ladies did nail art on the ladies' nails. And I was walking around and I said to one of the ladies, who did that? And she said, well, the ladies. And I was, you're kidding. There were flowers, there were sparkles, there were stripes, there were diamonds. All nails were different colors. We've never had anything like that before. And the young ladies that Mr. Holland brought were having the time of their lives, because then they started polishing their own nails. And that was fine too. I kind of wanted mine done, but I just sort of zipped it up. And it was just the most satisfying, beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And one of the most important parts of an intergenerational program is not the nail polish, it's the interchange or the exchange between the two people. A younger person makes a senior feel younger and feel good, and they have lots of questions. They want to know, where do you go to school? Do you have a boyfriend? How old are you? What do you do? Do you work? Do you drive? I mean, that's what it's all about. But in the meantime, they got these beautiful manicures that you couldn't even pay somebody to come in and do. Then Mr. Holland was coming with a group of young gentlemen. And I thought, okay, what are we going to do now? So we pulled all of our gentlemen residents together and we had what we call a men's club meeting. And we have a room at McGregor called the Rockefeller Room, which is guys only, no girls allowed. And we have a pool table, we have a poker table, we have a television, and it's kind of just a plain old room, but it's private. And I was given the privilege that day of coming in because I was serving snacks. So as long as I had the food, I could take them in. But ahead of time, I did pull some of our gentlemen together, the gentlemen with the stronger personalities, and talk to them a little bit about the group that was coming in and explain that they need a little fatherly advice. They need a little mentoring. And these gentlemen, whose lives are not totally in their own control anymore because their bodies have failed them or their minds, different things have happened to them that they are not in 100% control, are now back in control with these young men because they were able to serve as role models. And I was serving the snacks and I was sort of delaying. I didn't want to leave because I was sort of listening to what was going on. And there was one gentleman, Mr. Thompson, who was pointing his finger, and he said, "You're going to stay in school." He said, "Do you understand? You must stay in school." And then he started to explain that he was a barber with his own barber shop, and then a group of people came in and forced him out of the neighborhood or whatever, but if he didn't have that barber degree, what would he have done? He was able to move on. And this is all while the young men are shooting pool. And so that was the distraction, is let's shoot pool. And the guys loved shooting pool. And there was the old guys, the young guys. And one man was saying, "You're not really holding that pool cue right." And the young man just continued doing. He said, "I said you're not holding that pool." Well, you bet I'm going to listen to you, because they all of a sudden were the fathers, they were the role models, they were the mentors. And this was a win-win, because I had to walk away because I was getting a lump in my throat seeing our gentlemen, who normally are being taken care of 24 hours a day, are now back in that role of being the strong men that they were, that they still have it, and they still know how to mentor young people. So this Odyssey program is something that I hope to continue throughout the coming years. At first, yes, I thought it was a challenge, but I love a good challenge. I've been with McGregor for about 13 years, and this broke up the monotony a little bit. I thought, this is going to be fun. We'll figure something out, something that people like to do. And those girls polishing nails and the guys doing a men's club, it just doesn't get any better than that. So I appreciate Mr. Holland with all my heart. He's really been a wonderful partner, and he doesn't leave while this is going on. He stays there, takes pictures, talks, reminds people to, don't answer your cell phone right now. I mean, it was a wonderful program, and I look forward to continuing it in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Simon. And I must clarify that none of our 7th graders went to the poker table, so you need to know that up front, okay? The next person that I would like to bring to the podium is a young lady who we have a great deal of experience with, who was one of our counselors at Options, but this year she was a head counselor at Roxborough Elementary School. And she is truly, truly a friend of Options, as well as a tremendous friend of Odyssey. And I'd like to have Dr. Michelle Jackson come up and tell us about her experience that she had with Odyssey this year.
Good evening. Just wanted to say that it was on behalf of Dr. Michael Jenkins, who is the principal at Rox Elementary School. we were elated to have the Odyssey mentees come and work with our students this year. They worked with our students in English, math, they played board games with our students, and we did social skills that encompassed self-control and impulsivity, along with problem solving. So we really did enjoy it, and this is one of our little guys who was had the pleasure of talking and playing games with our Odyssey mentees. And I said, would you like to go to the boardroom meeting? He was like, yes. And I said, are there going to be a lot of people there? He said, I still want to come. So here we go.
Good evening. My name is Dante Lee. I am a first grader at Roxborough Elementary. The Odyssey mentee play math games and board games with me. They help me with empathy, being problem solving, being balanced, and principle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. The next partner that I would like to have come up is the parent of one of our first Odyssey students, and I think most of the people in the district know her because she's very involved in many other aspects of our district curriculum studies and also our extracurricular activities. I'd like to have the parent of Khalil Simmons come up, and that's Ms. Katura Simmons.
Good evening. As you mentioned, I'm Katura Simmons, and my son, Khalil Simmons, is in the back. He's in the 10th grade at the Options Program. Khalil's a very smart and respectable young man, but even with those great characteristics, he struggled with staying focused in order to make the best grade. Therefore, in the second semester of his 8th grade year at Monticello, he was recommended for the Odyssey program. We were both confused about how the program could and would help him, but we agreed to give it a chance. The Odyssey program was an academic saver and goal changer for Khalil. He was able to interact with upperclassmen to help him begin to feel comfortable with the idea of becoming a high school student. The staff members in the program gave him the additional support he needed to understand and successfully complete his work. The change of scenario from Monticello to the Delisle and Rampart helped him overcome his need to a controlled routine. But most important for us, the Odyssey program gave him permanent relationships with passionately educated, positive African-American role models who to this day care about his well-being and education. So that program and those relationships helped him achieve his growth academically and mentally, and we are so forever grateful.
The next young man I'd like to introduce, I'll say a few additional words about him. He was a former student athlete of mine at the previous school that I taught and coached at John Adams High School. And I always knew there was something very special about this young man, and I found out later on how special. I'm not going to give you his bio because he has a book, and you guys can purchase that and read that one day in your leisure time. But the young man is a person who, when I presented this opportunity to him, without hesitation said yes, absolutely, and he opened his courtroom to us. When he first became a judge at the age of, I believe, 32 years of age, 34 years of age, he was the youngest sitting judge elected to the municipal court in Cleveland. But he could have stayed there unopposed as long as he wanted to, but he decided that he wanted to become a proactive judge and not a reactive judge, and he thought that he could do better in the juvenile court system. So he ran against a person who would have given him a pretty good challenge. But as a result, he was able to win that election, and he's been sitting, I believe, for 5 years now. Is that correct? For 4 years. 4 is the number here, 4. And he's a judge in the juvenile court. He's also a graduate of Cleveland Heights High School, and just a great man, father, husband, and for me now, a friend and contemporary. And I'd like to bring up Judge Michael Ryan.
Thank you, Coach Holland and Dr. Williams, to the board. Wonderful board, one of the best board of education in the state, if not the country. And I can say that because it's my board of education. They're the ones who signed my diploma when I graduated from Heights back in 1989. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to come to speak this evening. I hope that you give me a little deference to speak a little longer than anticipated. One, because I am a member of the Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame, so I hope that gives me about 2 or 3 extra minutes. I do a lot of things here at Heights that just go unnoticed and not talked about. When I was in college, I came back and spoke to the football team as a way of trying to mentor them and give them expectations about college. I came back and talked to students as well throughout the school system. I've been back for career days. I've spoken at for Black History Month at Monticello, at Wiley, as well as Roxborough. I've participated in the reading program at Roxborough, and I actually had the wonderful privilege of being the keynote speaker for the graduation, Cleveland Heights High School graduation. But when Coach Holland came to me and discussed the Odyssey program, I was like, this is another opportunity to give back to Heights. Because I'm a kid who's grateful of the opportunity that Heights extended to me. I came from Cleveland Public Schools, and I was primarily educated there, but Heights really refined me when I arrived and helped me grow, helped me think more critically, and really set me up for success in college and then in law school, and of course in my legal profession. So how could I turn down Coach Holland? An opportunity to pour back into the lives of the young people who are students in the Cleveland Heights University High School District. And so he brought his students down to court. They got an opportunity to get a bird's eye view of juvenile law. And thankfully, not from the position as an alleged delinquent, but instead as a spectator. They got an opportunity to observe what we do from arraignment all the way through disposition, an opportunity to sit through an adjudicatory hearing. I had an opportunity to go and sit with my magistrate who deals with the lesser offenses, unruly assaults, petty theft, but then got an opportunity to watch me as I adjudicated cases for aggravated robbery with 1 and 3 year gun specifications. Got an opportunity to see us do a hearing where I had to actually bind a child over to the adult court because their offenses were so heinous. They got a chance to see that before they became the alleged delinquent. And I'm always grateful for them having that chance because I would rather meet them on those standards or those terms as opposed to having to provide a judgment against them. They got a chance to actually view where we hold these young people while they're in court. They didn't get a chance to see the detention center because that is off limits to individuals who are 18 years and younger. However, they got a chance to see the holding cells, and they're not as confining as the detention center holding cells are, but still, they got a glimpse of what this life could be if they decide to make the wrong choice. And they got a chance to actually speak to me one-on-one, ask me any questions that they wanted to about my road to the bench. In fact, they actually had some prior history because I believe the majority of them, if not all of them, had a chance to read the book that I wrote. It was the least likely from the housing projects to the courthouse. And so they had a personal stake, I believe, in all of that because they got a chance to see somebody who was tangible, someone they could touch. They could say came from the same school system that I'm in, and look at the position of power, of influence, and prestige that he holds. Why can't I be there just like him? And I left them with that question, each one of them, as they were leaving court. But before they left court, I obviously got a chance to ask about any process that we had. I got a chance to converse with the attorneys, the prosecuting attorney, the defense attorney, with my staff members. I told them you don't always have to be an attorney to be a part of the legal system. There are other positions, our probation officers, my law clerks, my bailiffs. They got a chance to get information from them about what it takes to be in those positions. And I think they left educated and encouraged. I know that I know when they left, I felt encouraged with the young people that I knew was going to be holding my future in their hands. And I'm grateful for the partnership that I created with Odyssey, and it's my hope that this will continue even beyond my time at the juvenile court, which since I'm 45, it's going to be a long time. I don't have to leave until I'm 70. But Coach Howland and Dr. Williams, thank you so much for making me a part of this program. And I just thank Cleveland Heights and University Heights for providing you this opportunity and giving you this resource for these young men. You guys may not realize it now, but when you're older, you'll be grateful for the partnerships that were made and the individuals that you met and the people's lives that you touched and the way that they've impacted you. Thank you.
Great programs such as Odyssey could not occur without the leadership of a great district, as Mike and Judge Ryan, I call him Mike, Judge Ryan alluded to. And we just want to show our appreciation to our superintendent, Dr. Talisa Dixon, for allowing us to have a program such as Odyssey and giving us the support, along with all of the board members and administration at the board level. So again, we thank you so much. We thank our partners. And again, we hope that we can have a very long, long partnership in programs such as Odyssey. Again, thank you very much.
I'd like to recognize another partner that we have at the Options Program. And for the last 5 years now, we've partnered with Design for Success, and the founder is Cheryl Bellamy. And it is a nonprofit organization that teaches our students entrepreneurial skills. Students learn how to create products, how to market products, and how to sell those products. And tomorrow, shameless plug, we are having our 5th annual Market Day at Notre Dame College from 4 to 7 o'clock. And so we started off the Market Day in our Sky Room in the building. The students generated a few dollars that we used to buy t-shirts for the next group. And then we moved to the Boys and Girls Club the next year. And then this is our 2nd year at Notre Dame College. So that's tomorrow, Notre Dame College from 4 to 7. She has been an invaluable resource and partner for us and has had a profound effect on our students at Options. And we thank her for her commitment to our program and the vision that she has helped to give our students. So at this time, I'd like to recognize Cheryl Bellamy.
Thank you so much. Hi, my name is Cheryl Bellamy, and my background is I am an attorney. I graduated from law school. I'm not going to tell you the year. But I did work at the prosecutor's office, and when he was talking about juvenile delinquents, the juvenile delinquent department and law, it brought back many, many memories for me. And you're doing a great job. Proud of you. Our mission here, Design for Success, we've been working with Options, but we've also had other areas that we worked with. Our first pilot program was Euclid High School. We stayed there for about 5 years, and then we came over to Options. My husband and I, we founded this Design for Success. We're sitting around the kitchen table. We're missing our kids. They left and went on their little personal journeys, going to school and so forth. And I said, we need to do something. I don't want to sit here and be a retired citizen. I want to do something for the next generation. So we talked about the business part because he's very much into his own business. And Design Success is an incubator aimed at helping entrepreneurial youth in Northeast Ohio develop successful businesses. The confidence and the love of work gained from these experiences serve as a catalyst for their sustainable financial independence. So we began to work with high schools, and it was very successful here at Options. Our measurable outcomes, let me just give you a little data from 2008 to 2016. We have had over 275 students exposed to our program. That means to say that not all of the 275 students bought into Design for Success program, but out of that, we've had so far 98 students that participated in our program. That includes Euclid High School. I think we may have a little bit more than 98. It also includes Cleveland Metropolitan School District. We worked at PNC. We worked at Boys and Girls Club. And out of that, the measurable outcome is 3 out of those 98 students did not finish high school. So we have a 98% graduation. It's just great. It just makes me feel good to know that we can help them as well. Out of that, after graduating from high school, we've had 48% of those students going on to college, and they have completed their college. Out of that percentage, 16% our students went on to vocational training or the military, and 36 of those students entered the workforce. Design for Success really focuses on preparing participants for the journey after high school graduation. We tell our students that money is very important. They have to take care of themselves. Some of them don't want to be just consumers. They really love formulating their own businesses. They create their products. They create their services. We have a kind of a short gunshot lesson in terms of how you create your business plan, I should say. They learn how to create their names, their business names, what it means, the name, the mission statement. And what I tell our students, when you do your mission statement, you're talking about not just your business, but you are talking about yourself. Your business and you are the same person. And so what we did the second year that I was with Options is that we began a market day. And that was the catalyst that really stimulated the curiosity and really the excitement of these students making their own money and also becoming financially independent. During this course, we have had many business people come in and they speak to our students. We've had other people come in and talk about how you make a financial budget. How do you budget your money? Also, we had other people come in and talk about investments. We've had students that never heard of a savings account. And once they knew about it, they began to open up their own savings account. We've had also students who shadow career people like our attorneys that I know at the prosecutor's office. We've had students who were interested in becoming doctors. So what we did, we partnered with university hospitals, and they spend a whole day with the interns and residents and what it means to be in the medical field. We had students to go into other businesses and become paid internship for a whole summer. So we have done a lot. Now let me just say this to you. Design for Success participants from 2008 to up to 2016, they have had student startup businesses, and there are about, I would say, 62 student startup businesses. And out of the 62, there have been 10 sustainable business. In other words, our students will come back to Design for Success and say, we still have this business, Mrs. Bellamy. I said, great. And not only that, but they have learned, they have traveled. We have one student that had a scholarship to go to Italy to be a chef, to learn how to be a chef. And it's just really great how we are teaching our kids not just this is your world here, but there's a global world out there. And that you can make an impact into this world, and a very positive impact. And what we have taught our students also is that once you become successful, do not forget to give back. We teach our kids integrity in the business. We teach our kids responsibility in the business. We teach our kids accountability. You have to be accountable to your customers, to your employers, or to your employees, to each other. So we've created teams together. So our kids are looking out for each other. One kid may have a propensity or potential of doing something very unique, whereas the other kid doesn't know how. We teach them, look, you're partners together today, you're helping each other, and this is what it's all about. You can't start a business and live in isolation once that business is started. You have other outside resources that can help you. We've had, so far, we've had been very, very fortunate to work with Dr. Brian Williams. I believe this man and his whole staff is just so phenomenal. When I went in the first day, I was so taken back to see the love, the attention, the encouragement, the hope for the staff, how they give back to their students. And that's the soil in which our students are growing. There's your example right there, these young men. And I went back and I'm thinking, wow, education is about family. The teachers sometimes have to be mothers, fathers. Teachers have to be counselors. Teachers have to be people that can have an ear to hear some of the issues that these young students are going through. So I was just very excited about this option, that I could be a part of that. And I want to thank Dr. Brian Williams. I want to thank his staff, Mr. Claude Holland, Brad Hallam. I want to thank Michelle Jackson. I don't know what I would have done without Michelle the first year. But it's just amazing what the education is doing. It has such great potential. And I tell our kids, you do not, in my class, you cannot say, I can't. That is a vocabulary I do not want to hear. You either try, or you can say, I can do it. And I'm telling you, I have learned not so much about the business world, but I have learned much from them. And we got a great generation. I tell our kids, you have no idea who you are. And I also, the first thing I say to my kids, every one of you has a genius living inside of you. It's up to us to stand by you, support you, and see you get through and recognize who you are. Because that's all, what the bottom line is: self-esteem, confidence, and even if you don't start a business, by the time you finish this class, you will learn how to budget your money. At least do that. Thank you.
I'd like for our partners to come up so I can present you with our certificate. At this time, if I can have my guys come up, my London guys.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Darren Cruz, and on behalf of the Options Global Ambassadors London, Sharon and Nate, this trip has had a tremendous impact on all of us, and it changed our lives and shaped our futures. And ever since I've gone to London, I've wanted to travel more, and I've done a little bit of that. And I can say the same for the guys who went to South Africa. It's amazing. It's an amazing experience, and they got to experience that. And then they'll pass it on to the future ambassadors as we have, and it's just going to be a great tradition for all of us.
As I'm introducing our ambassadors, our global ambassadors that took a trip to South Africa in March, before we move forward and recognize them, I first want to thank our superintendent, our board members, and all of our donors that have supported us over the last 2 years with the Options Global Ambassadors Initiative. It truly was a joy to work with the 3 ambassadors that you're going to meet tonight. They said yes to this opportunity in August, and they entered the process that involved securing passports, academic research, mentoring, public speaking, and engaging in weekly meetings that were designed to maintain or develop a sense of respect and self-respect, having confidence in their own abilities, having a vision for their life, and understanding the importance of preparation and determination and how to appropriately apply that in their lives. This process has been filled with anticipation, discomfort, and personal growth. Prior to March 22nd, 2017, none of our 3 guys that you're going to meet in a second had ever been on a plane before. By the time we arrived back home on April 1st, they had been on 6 flights, 4 airports. They learned the true meaning of turbulence. And they were on 2 flights that were 15 and 17 hours respectively. While in South Africa, we were partnered with the Steve Biko Foundation. And our first leg of the trip was in Johannesburg, South Africa. We had the opportunity to visit Johannesburg National Park. It was the first time that each of us had ever been on a safari. And they were looking for the lions the entire time that we were there, and I acted as if I wanted to see the lions too. But I really wasn't interested in seeing lions in the open cart truck that we were in. But I never let them know that. We also visited the historical city of Soweto. The second leg of the trip was in King Williamstown, and we visited 3 high schools in King Williamstown. And we were also there, and we partnered with the Steve Biko Center. This was a hub for the neighborhood there. We had an opportunity to visit students and talk to staff, and our guys did a truly amazing job as they really poured life and had impact on the students and the people that they met while they were there. They truly became my comrades after I was able to witness what they were able to do, what they were prepared to do. We actually had an opportunity to engage in a community dialogue in which Steve Biko's wife had found out and heard that we were in town and had came to the dialogue that night. In many ways, Steve Biko's wife is sort of the Coretta Scott King of South Africa. Just 6 days prior to us getting there, President Zuma of South Africa, they had honored Steve Biko posthumously on Human Rights Day. And we were there at the gravesite just 6 days after the President of South Africa was there. Had the opportunity to visit the Indian Ocean on the last day after all the work was done. We are very proud of our 3 ambassadors as they did an exceptional job and represented themselves, their family, their district, our school district, our community, our state with the utmost dignity and respect. And it is evident that these guys are not the same students that we knew in August. But that's what the process is all about. It is to take them totally out of their comfort zone, where all they can rely on is who they are and what they have. And when they're able to successfully navigate that terrain, this entire process, including the trip, they realize that everything they need, they already have. And it's a matter of trusting themselves, exploring themselves, and moving forward. And so much of life, as our guys have heard, much of life is defined by the story that we choose to believe about ourselves. And Mr. Holland and I serve as directors to shape that narrative, to help them uncover who they are and who they desire to become. At this time, I'm going to have Mr. Holland introduce our three ambassadors.
They, I think, very pleasantly used to call me the old man of the trip, and at 61 years of age, I guess I would be, but we share a similar distinction. It took me 61 years to get to Africa. It took them 18 and 19, so you can imagine the impact that this trip had to have on these young men, as well as on myself, as Dr. Williams so eloquently gave you the synopsis of this incredible trip. It really, as he said last year, and as we know, it's not really about the trip, though, more than it's about the process leading up to the trip. And I think the process is what really has molded these young men into the great young men that they are, young men that, as Dr. Williams stated, are not just our students anymore, but they actually truly are our comrades, because we weren't on a vacation. We were there actually partnered with 4 different schools, and we did 17-hour days, and we worked, and these young men were never allowed to sleep, barely allowed to eat. And it was funny because one young man tried to get some sleep one time, and Dr. Williams, in his own way, told him, don't fall prey to the as we put it, the selfishness of sleep. Can you believe that? Don't fall prey to the selfishness of sleep. And one young man said, selfishness? I thought we all needed to sleep. No, not when you're a global ambassador. So I'd like to bring to the podium our first young man to talk a little bit about this journey and this experience. And that is Mr. Tyron Bryant.
Good evening. I'm Tyron Bryant. I'm an Options Global Ambassador. And I would like to thank the superintendent, the board, and all of our donors that supported the Options Global Ambassadors initiative. Going through this process for this trip was a great experience. I remember before all of this, I lacked in confidence, didn't have the resiliency to build my grades up. I just chose to kind of give up. But I noticed I need to get back up and build all of that, create a future for myself. And when I went to the options program, all the teachers, even Coach and Doc, treated me like family. It was a great opportunity to be there. And I noticed I had to do it. I needed to do this to create a future for myself. And I went to school, got good grades, and was on school on time. And I got selected to be an Options Global Ambassador. And I chose to say yes to that opportunity, and the power of yes got me here. And without all that preparation, I wouldn't be standing here looking at everyone in their eyes. I was a person to look down all the time. And going through the process of going to schools like Noble, Monticello, Fairfax, and also being a mentor. I love kids, and connecting with them was fun. And going to the trip to South Africa, everybody there respected all 3 of us with respect, and looked at us like we was famous to them. And I learned about them that they're not different from us. Like, we're the same. The only thing that we're different is their accent. And what I learned about myself is I had a story to tell, that I can change their life. Speaking to them about myself opened doors for them, to let them know that wow, I'm like him. If I had bad grades, I got bad grades just like him. Maybe I can change for myself. And it was a great opportunity speaking in front of them. And the best part of the process was connecting with students. Now they see me and be all happy, like, oh my God, when you gonna see us again? Can text me and all like that. And the best part about the process was the community dialogue, talking to Mother Biko, and she told us that we were similar to Steve Biko. I admit, I've cried when she said that to me, and it was a great opportunity. And I was never thinking about college before all of this. And without Coach and Doc, I wouldn't be standing here and going to college. I'm going to Tri-C for culinary. And thank you. And me expressing myself about Tri-C gave me an opportunity to go back to South Africa and work for the Steve Biko Center. And this opportunity made me find the new me for myself. And I would have never found myself going to college and all of this if it wasn't for the options program. Thank you.
The next global ambassador that I would like to introduce is a young man who I'm sure his story will be just as intriguing as Tyron was, and this is Mr. Roberto Osorio.
Good evening. I'm Roberto Osorio, and I'm an Options Global Ambassador. I first want to thank the superintendent, the board members, all of our donors that supported us and supported the Options Global Ambassadors Initiative. This wasn't a life-changing experience for me. The process we went through changed me in many ways and impacted me in many ways. It includes our weekly meetings, our school visits, and our mentoring younger students. The process was extremely key in getting rid of self-doubt and revealing characteristic traits that mask insecurities. I developed speaking skills, writing skills, people skills that I can continue to use in the rest of my life, to use in any situation. Our program helped me to learn so many things about myself. I learned to be a team player instead of being counterproductive. I learned that I'm resilient. Any task I thought was too big for me, I overcame. I enjoyed so much of the process. I developed confidence. So when I'm unsure of my skill, I know that I can do it even if I'm alone by myself without my ambassadors. Speaking to younger students, mentoring them, giving them hopes and aspirations was extremely great for me. Mentoring students that needed help and guidance put a smile on my face. I also learned about others. People are no different than we think. We're not that different. The language is different, but the feelings behind the words are all the same. When we traveled to South Africa, we were met with nothing but love and acceptance and just joy. We held a community dialogue, and I found my comfort in their presence, sitting with them, speaking about their opinions, and learning about what they thought about us and how things are going in the educational system here and there. When we traveled to South Africa, I experienced a variety of emotions: fear, pain, happiness, hope, and excitement. And then to experience fear, pain, happiness, hope, and excitement. And I realized we share common experience, the human experience. And the human experience is inescapable. Thank you.
They're gonna make me get emotional again. I won't do it. I won't do it. The next young man that I would like to introduce is a senior in our options program. And he too, I'm sure, will have a story that will be one that I'm sure will leave you very, very, very much mesmerized. And this is Mr. Deshaun Gibson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deshaun Gibson. I first want to thank the superintendent, the board members, and all of our donors that helped support the Options Global Ambassador Initiative. This has been an amazing experience, from the process to the trip and to now being able to speak in front of everyone in this room. My first couple of years of high school, freshman and sophomore, I didn't make the best choices. I wasn't determined to do the work. I wasn't confident. I had a lot of self-doubt, wondering whether I could do it. Was I ready for that next step? And could I make it? Because I was behind, and I didn't think that I had what it takes to get ahead. And things that I've never thought about, college, my future, where I wanted to be in the matter of the next 10 years. I've never thought of that before coming to the options program. And it was one night where I sat on my bed, I was behind, I was worried, I was afraid of where I was gonna go next, to where I thought that I was gonna drop out of high school because it became so hard for me to get my act together, to get to where I needed to be. Then I was accepted into the options program, where things began to change. I came into the options program thinking that this could be my last chance, my last shot to get back on track, to be where I need to be, to set myself up to be successful. And coming into the options program, the teachers, Dr. Williams, Mr. Holland, embrace you as family. They want to see you succeed. They don't want to see you fail, because they know what you've already gone through is similar to students that they've already had. And they want you to know that you have it inside of you to do whatever you want, to be whoever you want to be. And sometimes we just don't realize that. So it's their job, whether they know it or not, and they showed us that they're here for us, to talk about our problems, whether educational or at home, and just to be a shoulder to lean on, an ear for us to talk into. And I started to get my act together because of this new environment, and started to receive more positive recognition. My family was excited. It's getting straight A's, and my mother was a lot happier. A lot less arguments in that household. Let's just say that. And now I'm starting to realize that I have the potential to do these things, that I can. And I'm starting to think about college now. I'm a junior, and I'm saying that, well, maybe I can do this. Because if I can do it here, what's stopping me from doing it in the next level, that next step of my life? So now I have a vision. Now I know where I want to be. I'm going to Tri-C for 2 years, then I'm going to University of Cincinnati for the next 5. I want to study to be an attorney. I want to go to law school. That's where I want to be. And I know that going into this field and going into college, I have to build upon my strengths. I have to build on my weaknesses even more. And I have to trust my skills and also improve on them. And being an Options Global Ambassador has only helped strengthen those skills, because immediately when you walk in the door, when you turn in a paper to Dr. Williams because you need luggage or someone's donating luggage and they want to give you this, but you have to write a paper, he'll immediately tell you, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. So he gives us this criticism to only make us want to do better, to want to get to where we need to be, to get those skills at the level that they should be going off into college. And it made it easier as I am right now talking in front of you guys. Before this process, I would have never been able to do this, ever. I was scared. I didn't think that I could talk in front of groups of people and express my feelings or even just talk about myself, the person that I know most. I didn't think that I would be able to talk about myself. Then I came to realize that I have a story to tell, and people are listening. People want to hear what I have to say. And that's what I came to realize in South Africa. That's what I was met with when I stepped off the plane, with nothing but joy, love, open arms. And people wanted to hear my story. They wanted to hear what I had to say. And when I talked to the students, this was the most enjoyable part for myself, was all I did was talk about myself, my hardships, what I've gone through, my self-doubt, my insecurities. And I connected with those students because they realized that I'm going through the exact same things that they're going through. I'm just in America. I'm going through the exact same problems that they're going through. And they saw that, well, if he can do it, why can't I do it? If he can get over these hardships and think about just now vision himself in the next level of college, well, why can't I? And I took aside, and a teacher told me that after what you said today, after you just sharing your feelings, you've helped change lives. You've helped open doors. You helped open these students' minds. And I've never heard that before. I've never heard that I've helped change a life, open someone's mind into higher thinking, because this is what they've never gotten before. A peer telling them that they can get through this, that is hard, but you just have to stick to it. You have to believe in yourself and trust in yourself and get that confidence, that determination, and be where you want to be. Vision yourself where you want to be, and it's already done. You have it inside of you, and you can do whatever. Thank you.
Before we finish, we want to thank Dr. Williams and Mr. Holland for giving us this opportunity, watching over us, keeping us focused now, even now, before the trip, after the trip. Y'all are like our fathers, one of them like role models to us. And we appreciate everything that y'all done for us. And it's something we're not going to forget, and we're going to make y'all proud.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I like for you guys to front Amazing, amazing, amazing. You guys all make us proud. Wish we had a chance to go to South Africa, and to the group that went to London last year. Thank you again for sharing your stories. Your stories are powerful. Thank you to those guests those mentors and sponsors and partners with our Options program and our Odyssey program. We definitely thank you for all the work that you continue to do and the work that you would do in the future. So thank you again. So next we will have Dr. Jeff Johnston, if he would come up to speak about our Belfair JCB program and its educators.
What I really should do is give my notes to those guys. Have them come up and read them. Thank you, Dr. Dixon, and good evening. This is a wonderful night for those of you, along with me, who come to some board meetings. So as you may know, our district has enjoyed a strong partnership with Belfair JCB for more than 30 years. Countless students and their families have benefited from the services of Belfair. But as the needs of our community change, we must adapt in order to better serve our children. And the district and Belfair are cooperating in an amicable separation as Belfair engages Applewood centers to provide educational services starting in the fall. So tonight, we want to honor the staff members who have worked so hard to make a difference in the lives of CHUH students. And I encourage you to take a moment and to read the reflections that are in the guide for tonight. They are powerful in of themselves, and they talk about the passion that our staff brought to that environment and to that program. And there's really no words that I can say or anybody else can say that would speak as clearly and as appropriately as theirs. So I really encourage you to take a moment and look at it. Belfair is a unique place, and we have students from all over the country. And students would come in and they would stay for maybe 15 days, or they would stay for 30 days, or they would stay for 60 days, or they would stay for longer. And the best part about that experience for them was the partnership with the Belfair JCB agency and the educational experience that they received from our teachers. And it's a tribute to their work. And they deserve recognition as the program changes direction. So what I want to do is we're going to invite the folks who are here up to the front. We'll have them take a picture with Dr. Dixon and with Mr. Register, and then I will meet them in the back for their certificates and stuff. But we do want to recognize, not everybody is here. I will say all the names, but I do want to first recognize those folks who are here and the role that they had served at Belfair. So we'll start first with Mark Baker. And I just want you to pay attention to the years, okay? Mark Baker, not because of age, not 'cause you look great, but I'm just saying, art teacher, 21 years at Belfair, okay? Kimberly Bryant, special education, 11 years at Belfair. Melanie Ellis, intervention specialist. Ten years at Belfair. Mr. Bernard Harmon, security monitor. "22 years, Belfair. And Mr. Marvin Watson, who is a guidance counselor. "19 years at Belfair. So in addition, we had other staff, Mr. Gary Gamble, Antoine Jones, Janitha Smith, W.C. Wright, Heather Kutchling, intervention specialist, and Judith Spainhauer, intervention specialist, who are unable to join us tonight, but all of them have distinguished careers at a special place, and many of them are staying with us to work in different roles, and that's to our benefit and the community's benefit. So if we could just recognize them again, wonderful work.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Johnston. So before we get to our last group, I want to get Regina, if you come on up, with two students. Come on, Regina, come on up. Regina Rye. She wasn't here when her sister came earlier, so we want to recognize her. Thank you. She smiled at the end. Okay. All right. Okay. So finally, we're here tonight to recognize and celebrate our dedicated staff throughout the district who have achieved tenure or continuing contract status, and they look like babies when they come up. Here with us tonight to recognize the staff members is Dr. Paul Lombardo, Assistant Superintendent of HR and Operations. So Paul, I hand this significant recognition over to you. All righty.
Good evening, everyone. It has been a great evening, and this is going to be great to recognize our teaching staff and certified staff as well. Good evening, everyone, and it's my pleasure this evening to introduce teachers and certified support staff who were approved by the board for the completion of requirements towards tenure at the last board meeting. A teacher or certified support staff initially licensed before January 1st, 2011, continuing contract eligibility is met if they have 3 years' experience in CHUH or received tenure in a previous school district and 2 years of service with us here. They must have a master's degree or 30 credit hours beyond their bachelor's degree. They must have a professional or permanent teaching license. So before I introduce them, I want to thank the people that made this part available, who made this event possible. Kathan in our communications department, she created the programs and certificates. We had AVI who did the refreshments and food, and Kim Ehrlich was that really sweet lady that introduced herself to you as you walked in. She's phenomenal. So I'd like to give all of them a round of applause for what they did. This program, we have 20 staff members who were granted tenure, and I will introduce them. If you can come up and hold your applause to the end and just stand here, Dr. Dixon and Mr. Register, they'll provide you with a certificate, and then we'll take a nice picture with everyone at the end. But please hold your applause so we can get through all the names. First name is Juana Cuervo. Oxford Elementary School is a Spanish teacher. Joined the district in 2014. Has a BA from Texas State University and an ME from John Carroll University. So please come on up. Then we have Marcia Dawson from Monticello Middle School and Roxborough Middle School, and also Cleveland Heights High School. She's a language speech pathologist. Joined the district in 2014. Has a BA from Michigan State University and an MA from Cleveland State University. All right, Patricia Donovan Hulsman, Oxford Elementary and Heights High School. school psychologist, joined the district in 2015. It's a BA in Cleveland State University and an ME from Kent State University. We have Melanie Ellis from Belfair School, intervention specialist, joined the district in 2007 as a BA in Bennett College. Patrick Gleba from Cleveland Heights High School, American Sign Language, joined the district in 2009. It's a BA from Kent State University and an MS from Ohio University. Robin Greensburg, Roxborough Elementary, fourth grade teacher, joined the district in 2006, a BS Ohio State University, and ME Cleveland State University. Dejanay Lawson, Oxford Elementary, Math Support, joined the district in 2007, a BA Notre Dame College, and ME Cleveland State University. Catherine Merrick, Oxford Elementary, fifth grade teacher, joined the district 2014, BS Kentucky Christian University, MS Lake Erie College, and an EDS Nova Southeastern University. Jeffrey Porter, Career and Technical Education, Automotive Technology, joined the district in 2004, Diploma, Northwestern Business College, Certificate from Kent State University. Sylvia Rotella, Roxborough Elementary School, Gifted Intervention Specialist, joined the district 2007, BS Cleveland State University, and also an ME at Cleveland State University. Sean Sullivan, Garrity Professional Development School science teacher, joined the district in 1994, BS Bowling Green State University. And do we have anyone else here that I missed? Well, please, let's give them a round of applause for any tenure.
Okay, so thank you, Paul, and thank you to our staff members, and we're so very glad to have people like you working in our district and with our students. And next week is Teacher Appreciation Week. We started early this week in our district, but so congratulations to you, our teachers, this week and also next week as we celebrate National Teachers Week. So this concludes our awards and recognitions. We know it's a little long today, but it's been powerful hearing from all of our students. Thank you again, and all our students have been recognized, and to our teachers who make a powerful impact on our students every day, and to our Belfair staff, those who will be coming to join us on our campus next year. It's going to be exciting times in the district, so thank you all. This concludes our recognitions, and back to you, President.
Thank you. Well, congratulations again, everybody. This has been great. Everybody's leaving. Yeah, I know, that's right. Okay. We'll get back to the regular agenda. And we'll start, we've got some statements, some people who requested statements from the audience. And first we have Mary Sigbird, and it's on information request. And you have up to 5 minutes. Yeah. Come around. Yeah. And just restate your name.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Mary Sigbert. I'm a retired teacher from this district. I taught here for 17 years. And all of this excitement tonight makes me want to come back. Not quite. But I'm doing full-time care for grandchildren who will soon be in this school district. So I initially came to the board March 7th to ask for clarification on numbers that I had heard that Superintendent Dixon and Mr. Gaynor were given contracts for 5 years, which totaled $2.5 million. I wanted clarification on that, knowing that we were facing, issues with teacher pay and teacher contract discussions, and especially after tonight, seeing the dedicated and energetic work that goes on with these teachers that have since accepted a 0% raise. I'm just finding it a little disheartening as a levy supporter continually in this district that more money isn't spent on our dedicated staff. I have to trust the board that that was necessary if those numbers are true. I elected you, so I have to trust your judgment. But I still continue to hope that we find ways to reward the people that are directly involved with these students, whether it's security guards or teachers. And as I said, I came March 7th and asked Mr. Register for the information, and I called him the next day. He directed me to Mr. Gaynor and said I should write a written request for this information, which I did. I submitted that to him March 13th. The Heights Observer called him sometime in late March because they contacted me since I had written a letter to the editor. And Mr. Gaynor told them that you had sent me a letter March 23rd. What's the date today, May 2nd? I have not received any information on what I've requested. And this is public information as far as I know. I can't find it in any board minutes because the board minutes from March, whenever that was approved, are still not available to the public as far as I know. So I'm still asking for this information. Mr. Gaynor spoke to me tonight and said he'd sent it to me twice. I live here in the district, right on Kingston Road. You can run it over to me later if you haven't. I'd like clarification on the contracts that you and Superintendent Dixon were awarded.
And absolutely, Ms. Sigbert, I apologize. We did speak just prior to the meeting, and I did send that personally to your address that was provided, and I'm not sure why it didn't get to you. And actually, once the Heights Observer indicated that you hadn't received it, my administrative assistant sent it as well. So I don't know if it's an address issue or what, but I promise you that tomorrow morning, first thing, that will come to you electronically to the email address you sent to Mr.
Yeah, I sent my address and email to you in the letter that I
Correct. So
gave
that
to
will
you
come
as the request from Mr. Register. So.
Absolutely. So my apologies that didn't come to you.
Okay.
I'm not sure why that didn't happen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Martha Jensen. Concerned with communication. Well, you still have 5 minutes.
Huh?
You still have 5 minutes.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
We'll
2.5 apiece.
He'll need 10, but.
It's up to you.
My name is Martha Jansen. Some of you know my husband. I'm an 18-year resident in this district, and I'm sending my 4th child through the school system. I married into a Heights family. I've been a supporter of the levy, and sometimes levity in the district. I've never felt compelled to speak to this board after having my 4th child going now through Roxborough. Tonight, I couldn't stay away. I'm here tonight because I want to express something that I see systematic that's happening in the base of parents that, I don't want to say I speak for everyone, but I talk to a lot. I'm a room parent. I'm an active parent. I'm very disappointed in how the recent privatization of the aftercare and before care and programs were handled. There was a lack of involvement and communication to the parents, both before and after. It could have been handled so much better. But I didn't come up here just for the privatization. That wouldn't have been enough to bring me up here. The reason I came up here tonight is because I'm seeing a very alarming trend. And the alarming trend that I'm seeing is an erosion of trust with the parents that are your base. I can't say this enough. You have a base of parents out there who vote for these levies, who are staunch advocates for giving the funding that needs to be here. And you are losing their trust because there is a lack of transparency and communication coming from this district. There are too many decisions being made after the fact. We're getting information after the fact. Parents, community, they need to be involved at some level in decisions that will affect their children. And it has happened too often recently. The decisions are presented to the parents after the fact, after they're done deals. Some of those are business decisions, some of them can be very easily understood, but there has to be communication in order for that to happen. There was a wonderful young man who stood up here earlier tonight. He talked about constructive criticism. I am not here as someone who comes up as a complainer. I have never done this before. But I am asking you to please heed my words tonight. If you do not get more transparent and you do not do a better job of communicating decisions that affect our children, you will have a much harder time in the future getting things passed through in this district, especially when it comes to financial. And I don't speak for everyone in the district, but I think I do speak for some. And that is what I wanted you to hear tonight. I hope you will take it as constructive criticism.
Thanks. I was glad to have the opportunity. Thank you for letting me join Martha up here. I was also found out about the aftercare privatization the day after the caretakers did. Of course, you know, my wife immediately wrote letters. She was actually had the good opportunity to talk to Dr. Dixon. Thank you very much for filling us in and giving us some information on it and what led to it. However, it is important for everyone to know that the way this particular thing went down, from what we saw, was that, you know, aftercare people were brought in. They were brought in a meeting. They were there with their union rep, and they were told that they would have an opportunity to get a job with a private aftercare company that was going to be coming in next year to take care of aftercare. They had no, according to them, and I talked to several of them, they had no prior warning. They feel very, well, of course, they're out of a job. They're worried. And in our case, I was talking to somebody who I've known personally for 5 years and was continuing to know them for many more years afterwards. This is a person, well, several of the people I've known as fellow community members. They own houses here. Their job is here. Now, we can't provide jobs for everybody, and there's financial reasons why these things happen. So that all being said, probably the thing that I really want to impress upon this board and upon the public here is one of our benefits here in Cleveland Heights, and one of the things that is a central thesis of living here, is that we are involved. We're involved in our children's lives. I know somebody, a good friend who I respect, but I didn't respect one of their particular things, which was, I wish I could just drop my kid off and then pick them up at the end of the day. Now, they might go to another school, they might go to another district. I have a feeling they're going to be sadly surprised when they discover wherever you go, if you're not involved, your kid's going to suffer. They're not going to do as well. We are very involved, even to the point of aftercare. Aftercare was not an afterthought. We did not want a variation of daycare. We didn't want to have them plop down in front of a VCR. Now, in this case, this was one of the things where aftercare, we could discuss with them. They're members of the district, they're union employees, so I get an idea that they have a history, they have a sense of job security. You could know these folks. And it's been incredibly successful. Now, I understand that at Roxelle, there's a greater enrollment than there is at other schools, and there's an idea of how do we distribute this out, et cetera. I would say that the issue here is that when switching out this, when making this decision, it wasn't like you were deciding on moving one administrator around, laying somebody off or hiring somebody that suddenly we had to be there and be over your shoulder and say, well, I want to be there for all those decisions. No, this affected a lot of people. And this affected a lot of people that affected us. And it also affected a larger thing, which is you have to be very careful when you privatize. There's a sort of magic pill element to companies coming in saying, we can step in, we've got this great program, we're going to bring this all in. Well, that's all great, and it is great. Sometimes what you get is another layer of bureaucracy between you and accountability in terms of getting people to respond, getting to understand what and why they're doing something, even all the way down to the person who's working for them. So sometimes when you privatize, you can save a little money in the short term, but then when you talk about the overhead of that company, then that company inevitably is going to pay that person less. I think we're not fooling ourselves when we say they're paying them less. Also, you're taking them out of the union, which means they lose all those benefits and all that seniority and all the things that makes them tied to the community, reinforces the knit of this community.
Could you, Mr. Donald, wrap up in the next minute?
I can certainly wrap up in the next minute.
Thank you.
I would like this board to consider as we go forward, because it seems that in many ways, this idea of privatization, the magic pill of it, seems to be pervasive. That any time a decision that's going to privatize, any time that something's going to take it out of direct district control, that be brought forward and that a committee of parents and of concerned people be involved in the decision of it. For example, there's several companies that could probably step forward and do this, and for all I know, you looked at them. I wouldn't question your due diligence on things. However, I'd like to be involved. I'd like to know. I'd like to know why this is ahead of time. And I'd like it to be part of code. We talk about transparency. These decisions should not be made without the opportunity of the public being able to address it.
Okay.
You might find that it makes it easier for you in the future because it could possibly, as I've discovered on another project, working with the district, actually reinforce your decisions. Reinforce hard decisions such as we can't afford this, we have to make cuts here and there.
10 seconds.
Okay? That's really what I want to come up here and back up and thank Martha very much for allowing me to talk.
Okay, thank you, and we will take into consideration the comments that you both made. Thanks a bunch. Well, we're to the superintendent's report. Dr. Dixon?
So we have the second reading of the science curriculum adoption. So we have Julie Raffy and Bob Swagger here. Julie probably doesn't need Bob. She did such a great job last time. So we have any questions for Julie tonight? Just a second reading. We have another reading, one more reading for the final. Any questions for her?
I had a quick statement if you want me to.
Make a quick statement. Go for it.
Just a summary for you. During the April Board of Education meeting, the CHUH curriculum and instruction team presented the proposed adoption of a K-12 science materials. Tonight is the second of 3 readings required by our textbook adoption policy. The proposed programs will increase equitable access to high-quality instructional materials, which are aligned to the new Ohio Learning Standards for Science. 2 programs were piloted for grades K through 8, as well as 2 secondary programs. After the implementation this year, the piloted programs were evaluated in the areas of learning goals and objectives, content assessment, teacher support materials, physical characteristics, and student support materials. A subcommittee of science teachers representing the elementary, middle, and high schools unanimously chose Science Fusion as our K-8 program and Pearson Science as our 9-12 program to recommend to you for adoption. These engaging programs provide students with print, digital, and laboratory resources to increase their content knowledge and problem-solving skills.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have such a great ed services team. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Did you have Hannah?
Just a real quick one, and you may have said that, I apologize for forgetting from the last, did you speak to colleagues at other school districts about who use this already?
I did have a list on the presentation of Northeast
You
Ohio
did. That's
districts
right.
that use both of those programs.
I know some of the colleagues who've been here in the past, maybe in districts, I just felt that you might have some, okay, I thought I remembered that, I just want to be sure. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have approval of the field trip, District Power the Penn team, going overnight to Worcester, Ohio for a state competition. And we also have Garrity students going overnight trip to Cuyahoga Valley Environmental Center. So those 2 field trips.
I'll accept a motion to approve those 2 field trips.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Mr. Gainer?
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
I think we can take
Personnel?
items E1 through 7 together, so I'll accept a motion.
So
to
moved.
approve. Okay.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just happy to see Desi Stewart coming back to district.
Any other discussion?
I think he's a good guy.
Mr. Gainer?
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes. So we need a motion to accept F1, which is 1A through N.
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
I think we have a presentation from PMC.
Okay, a presentation.
Hello, I am Doug Myers with PMC. I do have some particular change orders we brought up to your attention. Basically, we have a lot of change orders. We try to bring some of the larger ones up so we can go ahead and just kind of communicate some of the items that are going on. So we have 4 different change orders that we have categories of tonight. Unforeseen conditions for $163,442. We also have permitting or code requirements for $20,106. And what that is basically for fire evacuation maps throughout the high school. We have several design clarification items totaling $230,797 that we have some photographs on to describe some of those. And then we also have a credit for $23,167, which was for several rooms where we had originally designed to have poke-through devices through the floor to bring up power and data, and it was decided that if we relocated to the walls, that would be enough, it would be adequate, and so we could save some money doing that. So I'll try to go through these quickly. If you have any questions, feel free to ask any questions. This first item they have shows, as we got into the construction, we found that there's several items where the masonry had cracked over the years. And so we went ahead and we decided that we would go ahead and repair that masonry at this time. We have contractors on board and everything. We have some unforeseen conditions where we can see At the window infill for the stage, there were 2 windows, or actually several windows, that were located. They weren't on the construction documents, and as we went to do the construction, we needed to go ahead and fill those. So we filled them on the inside, and we filled them on the outside for masonry, so that we had that backdrop for the stage was all wrapped up. Change order 117, what this starts to show is, as we designed the project, we went ahead and started to lay out the floor. The topping slab needed to be a little shallower than what we had originally designed to match the existing slab. So you can see that there's some angles that were exposed when we thinned the slab. So what this change order covers is actually furring out the walls into the interior with metal studs and drywall so that we can go ahead and cover that condition. These photographs show there were windows that were existing when we started the project. When we removed the windows, at some point before they were originally replaced, someone had cut out the steel. So this change added tube steel and structural reinforcement so that we could reinforce the lintels and then we could install our windows appropriately.
So could you say that again?
Yes. As we started the project, these windows had been replaced sometime before this project started, somewhere back. When they were replaced, you can see in the photograph, steel that had been there had been cut out. So as the contractor exposed all this, they realized that they had an unsafe condition. So we went ahead, we actually installed tube steel and lintels to shore everything up, and so now as we install the windows, it's a safer installation. Change order 118 has several items, mostly around the auditorium where there were openings that needed to be infilled. So these show some of the photographs where, as we got into some construction, we opened some areas, we realized that we needed to close them. Some of them that we weren't able to see as they did the construction documents. These photographs show a couple more areas that actually required infill, so we actually infilled them with masonry for acoustics and finished them off. Here's some vents that had the same condition, so we actually weren't using the vents anymore, so we filled them in. We have several items for design clarifications. This was a clarification for the sidewalk on Cedar. When the project was actually bid, we bid for an ad alternate to actually replace the sidewalk. We didn't accept it at the time, but now we're accepting it, so that this sidewalk is actually going to be replaced in front of Cedar. We have another design clarification. Some of these items also kind of go on the fence on whether it's an unforeseen condition or design clarification, but we are itemizing them individually. The storm conflict was actually, as we had several catch basins that needed to be installed. When we went to go install them, there was an existing electrical duct bank. So this change, this change actually was to relocate those catch basins. We have a change order 120. This is behind the stage. As the new construction, there's some new conditions, and it was decided that we would go ahead and we would put a barricade so that that stair, we would prevent access from someone to actually go on the stair and go up the stairs. So that's what these details start to show. The 124 change order is an auditorium drains modification, and this change actually, the engineer specified drains around the natatorium, around the pool, And as we started to install that and started actually do a lot more of the coordination with the slab, the contractor asked the question with some concerns about drainage and slope and everything. So this change is actually to add more drains and modify the slope so that we don't have any steep areas of slope on the pool deck and that we can quickly drain water we can drain water off of the deck.
This was, just for clarification, when we had this come up, Jim and I, in a meeting, I was questioning, why do we have to have a drain for the pool? Because I thought the water would just go in the pool. And the explanation, part of the reason for the expansion of scope, if you will, is that as the modifications of the geometry of the pool, but also it's about safety, in that you need to have, I think there's very specific regulations you have to have in regard to water draining on the deck, because you don't want, it's a safety issue. And it actually goes to if you don't have the right amount of drainage around the deck of the pool so that it's a safe surface, then you don't get your occupancy permit. So I was sort of like, why do you have to have this drainage issue? And they explained, I was like, oh, okay, because I just figured you could pool, the water just goes in the pool, but it's far more complex than that.
This change order consisted of several items, but one of them was relocation of the MDF. The architect originally designed it where we had room under the stage, and so they thought that that was a good space location to have it because it was kind of existing square footage that they weren't going to use for anything else. I think as we actually got into the space and really started looking at it a little closer, it was decided that access was more important. And so this change actually is to locate the MDF room up in Area B on the Washington level. So
You that should we'd have explain
better
what
access.
MDF stands for.
So that's the main distribution for all of the fiber and for the technology. So we have several different locations where all of the data is going to different rooms to be distributed. And this is the main room where we have all of the stacks of the banks and all of the technology. And then it's distributed throughout that room to the rest of the high school. Okay. And I think that was, I tried to summarize it quickly and try to just cover the larger items. If we have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well, I mean, I think it should be said that most of these things happened months ago.
Yes.
So most of them have already been implemented. You have a change orders, I think when I last checked, it was about 2 million left
Yes.
sitting in your hopper?
Yes.
But right, was it 2.1, so essentially 2 million essentially. And we need to really whittle those down, get them approved.
Right.
So we can close out this project.
Yes.
And I think once you get it closed out, we can do what Mr. Register said, which is get a real full accounting out to everybody. And it would really be great if this can get done in time when the Bond Accountability Committee will start meeting, which I believe you've earmarked in September.
Yeah, and I would probably push on it a little bit. I was gonna say something, because I think we can do real-time accounting too. In other words, I think we can update these categories. I was looking at these categories, which look pretty good. We could actually, to date, or wherever we are, we could actually account for those up to the point that we
Right.
have approved them, right?
Right.
So we could already put those in, and that when we approve some more, just add on to it.
Well, yeah, and we are meeting directly with the architect so that some of these items, we have to become like-minded on whether it's the exact basis of change. So we are having those meetings. We're going through these change orders that we have here. We've rolled them up. They're made up of several different items.
Right.
And so each one of those items we're going through, and we are starting to create that list that you had requested.
Okay.
So we absolutely can for all these bases of change that are a little more generic. As we get into more of the details, we're working on that, but we'll probably have that at the end. Okay? Great?
Yes.
Yes.
I just, two quick questions. One, the somewhat rhetorical, I suppose. The issue with the window where you said that steel had been removed, is that a normal thing for people to do in the process of replacing a window?
I think anybody that's been around construction knows there's really no such thing as normal. There's, it's not something that you would actually want to see or expect. It's definitely not something that should have been done.
Right.
But
And then I guess anyone who's even owned a home understands that sometimes you do what you got to do to get something in
Sometimes
place.
someone takes a
That said,
shortcut.
do you feel there are adequate checks and balances to ensure that the construction in this project is devoid of those types of decisions?
yes, this project does have a lot of checks and balances in it. It has commissioning agents, it has special inspection agencies that are working directly for the district, that are not accountable to the contractor or to the subcontractors.
Good.
As an architect that is on the project daily, and a team, and then we have layers. Now, there are always items, because there are so many people that are involved in construction, but I'm confident in the projects I've been involved in, that this district is doing the best that they can to watch after and to protect that interest by having commissioning agents and by having third-party inspections and other parties looking at it.
Okay, and again, somewhat rhetorical, I hope, at least. When changes are made, do you feel that there's adequate checks and balances to ensure that they are well documented so that 50 or 100 years or 200 years from now, when they go into this building, they won't find quite as many surprises as we seem to be finding?
That is an expectation that we have that starts with the contractors to actually record what was installed, and then they give that over to the architects and engineers to actually do their record drawings. And we have the technology, and we are definitely pressuring everyone on the team that that's what the expectation is. And then as we go to close the project out, we actually receive those so we can review them and do the best that we can to make sure that that's all documented.
Right, and I mean, lest it be heard as some sort of aggressive challenge, showing that type of respect to the people who work for us is that, holding the people who work for us to that level of accountability is actually a measure of respect, in my opinion. So good, I'm glad to hear that. So then the other question I had for you has to do with, Mr. Silverman mentioned this thing about the pool deck. Is our pool an unusual design, do you think, for pools?
No.
So again, if that's a known fact that proper drainage needs to be, from a safety issue, there has to be proper drainage for pools. Help me understand how this is a design clarification, not an original design.
There's a lot of coordination that happens between the architect and between the engineers, and sometimes there are errors and omissions and things that happen. And so I think that this is one of those issues that we're addressing with the architect and the engineer, and we've asked them the same question.
Okay.
That this is a change. However, this is probably not something that we would expect, that the owner didn't really make a change. This is something. And so that's part of the discussions that we have with our team.
Good.
So that we can go ahead and hold everybody accountable.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at design clarification, that's sort of a kind word to say, a mistake was made, or something wasn't considered. But it gets a little bit more complicated than that. It's not like someone sitting in the room and, gee whiz, I made a mistake. I mean, what happened is the pool got flipped for a lot of different reasons. And then on top of that, you realize, okay, well, you probably have enough drainage, but then you turn out and you have the contractor on site that says, I think we could do a little bit better job here. Let's get this right. So maybe it wasn't drawn initially, but you find out you have to do it, but it's money you would have had to spend earlier. So it's Steve Friedman's betterment, Eric Silverman's favorite word from our lawyers.
I completely understand,
So-
Jim, thanks. It's really just a matter of, I'm glad to hear that we're showing them the respect of holding them to that level of accountability.
Well, that was far more polite than my initial comments in private regarding this, the whole situation.
Okay. The use of the terminology, design clarification, is a little too polite. Is that what you just said?
It's a polite way of saying that someone should have thought about doing something a little differently.
So do we have this category for omissions? I guess we did, okay. And maybe we ought to red flag those, so that if we ever do buildings again, that maybe we ought to pay a little bit more attention to what the design looks like. Because somebody should have known, which is not quite just a design modification, it's a little bit more serious than that. So I like the idea that we're being polite, and I guess it's our choice to be polite or not to be polite.
Well, you know, I think the issue is, it's sort of like when you're like doing a home remodel, and you sort of realize when you're looking at it, and the owner comes in, it's like, oh, I wish I had a bigger cabinet, and this is the time to do a bigger cabinet, thinking about the lockers we had. You sort of, when you get all the lockers together, it's like, well, wait a sec. This, on paper, makes all the sense in the world. We can justify this decision, but when you sort of realize you have this concentrated number of kids in this area, we need bigger lockers. And you fixed it, which is a great accomplishment, but that is a design clarification.
Well, and also, I think part of the issue we saw, and this is what we're seeing with the middle schools, is that the timeline we initially had was aggressive, and because of that, the design team was moving forward earlier on the high school than we are at the middle school. So the intention, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to have a far higher degree of design documents. Basically, before we pull the trigger on the middle schools, to have far more on the design documents than we did with the high school. Conversely, the middle schools are, I would say, an easier project than the high school, but that is, I would say it's a lesson learned, but we do have because of the schedule and the timeline, the ability to have far greater detail and decision-making on the documents for the the middle schools than we did for the high school on the timeline.
Well, yeah, going from what, a 50%?
Exactly.
Bid documents from basically 90% of the middle school.
Exactly.
Middle school solves that issue for us,
Exactly.
which is, yeah, we're learning.
Yeah, I'm learning some language that I don't like too much, but that's okay.
Yeah, one other thing.
That's my hang-up, I guess.
I mean, Ron, you asked us to sort of report out on our committees. You know, this is a committee Eric and I sit on, but Cal, you sort of mentioned about documentation earlier. One of the things I was very pleased about is how Gilbane and PMC, and as part of the process when they turn the keys over to us and the training of our staff that goes through, a lot of that is videotaped, documented, so it's actually documented, so it's not like you're pulling a resource in and just showing, hey, this is the switch that, runs the boiler, this is the switch that turns on the AC, you can't have both on at the same time. Okay, oversimplified explanation here, but, these complicated buildings, good level of documentation. I mean, so far I'm feeling very good about that.
Good. Thanks.
I've got a few questions, but I'll wait for Scott, because there may be the whole team questions.
Scott, are you coming?
I gotta vote first.
Huh?
Gotta vote first.
Put your names on them. You can come.
Do you get to ask me for the vote?
No, my questions aren't vote questions. My questions are more project and general questions. He won't come up until you take the vote.
Mr. Gaynor, would you call the roll?
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes. Thank you.
I'm a creature of habit. You've always voted before. I voted before. So we are bringing this in on time. We're in the home stretch now. I was going to say we're coming into the home stretch, but we're there. We're at the home stretch. A lot of positive feedback from recent tours. This is the natatorium as it stood prior to yesterday when we started actually pouring the deck, the pool deck that we were talking about as part of the change orders. But this photo was really taken to show the ample natural light, to show the acoustical flags up there, to show how the sprinkler system kind of
blends in, so it doesn't really hinder the beauty of the wood of the space, nor do the lights. A lot of thought was put into the mechanical and electrical services in the space, and it really lets the natural wood come through.
That really is out of proportion, that picture. I mean, at deep end, it doesn't drop like that. It looks a lot bigger than what you're showing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is, and that'll come through for anyone who sees it in person. This is the kitchen. We're moving swiftly on the kitchen equipment. Kitchen equipment's placed and is now being connected underneath the hoods and in the prep space. And it's always nice to see kitchen equipment. There's always a lot of benchmarks in the building process, and kitchen equipment's one of them, because that means that you're past the utility coordination, et cetera, and we're now looking forward to our health department inspections in a couple of months. This is the larger of the two orchestral music rooms, and you can see that the space is all but finished. We've got to finish out the floor finish and put light fixtures and ceiling tiles in, but the spaces are coming together, as you'll see in the next couple of photos here. This is the auditorium. The restoration is well underway now. We've got the partitions at the rear of the space done, the shell of the light and sound booth here in the floor here. The painting is underway. The historical, I'll say the handwork has been preserved in the ceiling coffers, and it got a whole refresh of paint. A lot of the water damage that had happened over the years in the coves has been patched and will be painted, so it'll look like a brand new auditorium. Seats are coming in about 4 weeks. And here is up on this is the third floor. So you can see that the third floor, we actually have our final cleaner, our final construction crew cleaning the third floor right now. So this is looking down one corridor, and look, this is inside of a classroom right off of that corridor. These classrooms are complete except for commissioning and HVAC testing. But these are the spaces, and this is the non-teaching wall. The teaching wall's on the other end with the projector, the interactive projector and whiteboard. But a lot of positive feedback as people come in and see these spaces. So we're looking forward to turning over the building in, 3 months now.
Brad was good enough to take me through the building. Today's Tuesday, yesterday, and it was very impressive. The photos don't do the work justice. It's come along really well. Just a couple of things. I believe that I'm still, I guess, to a degree, the topic of, some gates and security on the portion of the building, still waiting to hear what the final disposition on that is. It's also the prominence of some of our external cameras. I know I mentioned to Brad and to the design team, some of our exterior light fixtures at the doors. I know that's sort of still in flux, if you will. I mentioned to Brad a question I would pose from design clarification, a little legitimate one, not a drawing one. It looks like you have in the courtyard, or now the quad, if you will, are we having very tall light fixtures, or more of a short, and I'm going to mispronounce, bollards or bollards? Because it looked like we had tall fixtures waiting to be installed, but my question would be that seemed it would take away from the sight line. So what are the fixtures that we're putting in the courtyard, if you will?
It's tough to describe, but I would put them right in the middle of that. They're not bollards, but they're not tall light poles like you'd see in a parking lot. Okay. They're on the shorter side of poles, but they're taller than the bollards.
Okay, so maybe, let's say, 10 feet, not as opposed to...
I don't even think they're that tall.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I have a question that's probably going to be for Scott Wortman, but I'll go, well, you're still at the podium. When we were walking through, I noticed when we were on the first and second floor, for the original tile, we put protection, and then they were cut lines. In front of the auditorium, there's original tile between the preservation to the wall, but there was a cut line. Are you going to remove that original tile, and then, it looks like whoever was doing the cut just cut from one end to the other. Are you intending to remove that tile in front of the auditorium and then put new tile in? Or did someone
That
just?
saw cuts at a grout line.
Okay.
Oh, so we're grouting back in with grout to match.
Okay, that was okay, that's what I wanted to hear, okay. And then for Mr. Wortman, I don't know where Scott's, look, where are we on getting tours into the building? Yeah, or, I know it's in process, I guess, are we in process on that?
We're in process,
Okay.
and all the tours will go through the communications
Okay,
department.
cool.
So, yeah.
Good.
And so what we would do is we will put on your weekly reports
Okay.
the tours for the following week, so you know
Okay.
when they're happening if you want to join.
And I will again reiterate my volunteering if you need somebody who's not, instead of Ms. Brad who has to drive to Worcester and you're in Brunswick and some of our other folks, if someone from Gilbane's there, I'm more than happy to help
lead
be,
the
part-
tours.
to help be part of the tour.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Okay, so we are now at F2, and I need a motion to approve the resolution related to the AT&T easement.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and second. Any discussion?
Why should we do this? And what do we get from AT&T for doing this?
You are being a nice neighbor.
No,
They have an existing junction box, and all they're asking for is a pad next to the existing junction box
Okay.
to expand.
The
And
re-
it's
the-
way in the corner of the Boulevard parking lot there.
The only reason I ask is I remember in the 90s how the gas company, I don't know what they call themselves now, they had in-ground vaults. And Mr. Wolf, I can't remember his first name, but. Who? Alan Wolf. Alan Wolf. My last boss was named Alan, so wouldn't I remember that? We gave them an easement. In exchange for them having their vault, we now have these wonderful boxes on our property with this incredibly less than ideal landscaping. So that's why I was trying to figure out why, being very generous to our friends at the utility company if we were getting anything in return.
In this case, no, we're not
Okay.
getting anything in return. I vetted this agreement through our attorney.
Okay.
Was there an opportunity to maybe ask for something? Possibly, but I haven't seen
Right.
that done over these easements since I've been here. But
So
maybe
we're
it's
not
something I
even
should
getting,
start doing.
we're not even getting shouty landscape?
No,
it's the parking lot.
you won't even notice the change. It's taking an existing box like this, you're
Just
putting a pad
kidding,
next to it, right? Well, I can ask the
No,
question. I'm not shy to ask the
well, no,
question.
once I saw where it was, it's basically just adding like some footage to the easement.
Existing,
But
yes, sir.
I was curious because we sort of, okay, we'll give this easement to the gas company and we got nada for it. It's just sort of, I hate for us to just roll over and give the utilities whatever they want if we're not getting anything out of it.
Well, we
so.
could say no to this.
No, it's the part, when I saw the map, who cares?
You know, I think it's unlikely for us to see a cold, hard cash for something like this, but sprucing up landscaping and stuff is probably not
Well,
too
they're
much
definitely
to ask.
required to put the surrounding piece back. Now, what I could request, when I talk to this gentleman, is there, I could expect some shrubs or something, and I can see what we can do. I'm not afraid to ask at all.
I think that's probably appropriate.
Okay, Mr. Gainer?
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll accept a motion to approve F3, to approve a resolution related to installation of security cameras by U.S. Protective Services.
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
Any discussion? Questions?
Where are these are the elementary, or
Yeah,
do you have something?
Real brief overview. We just experienced some recent major failures at the high school. And if you remember, when we closed the old high school, we took, to save money, we salvaged the Bosch camera system that was in that high school, moved it here. That system is the same systems that we have at existing elementary schools, installed in the year 2000, 2001. And it's the old analog systems. Bosch will not even fix them anymore. So once they fail, we have to replace them. We recently did that repair here, and we, after talks with Dr. Dixon, we have an opportunity to not only upgrade the elementary schools that have these antique Bosch systems, but we can take the 3 schools that do not have any camera coverage whatsoever and do a basic installation. So that's the intention here. All of our schools will then have security coverage in the exterior of the building at the main entrances.
For the, if it's, I guess if it's all new, modern, and wired, obviously each building is going to have the ability to see it. Is there ability for not only the building, but to be one location in the district that can see everything?
Great question. And this is the same exact system that's going into the new high school, and the same expectation is going to be placed on 2 middle schools, and it will all go back to the head security coordinator's desk, Mr. Loretz. He'll have access to all the cameras in the district, and we can actually have them viewed if there's a monitor in the high school, and that's what they're doing. They'll be able to pull those cameras in also. If I wanted that in my desktop, I could pull them in.
Beautiful. Okay, good.
So U.S. Protective Services doing
They're our
everything?
current existing security company. They actually
Okay.
did place a bid on the work at the high school, so they're very aware of what was provided. They did the upgrade here at this building for us, and they manage all our security.
Okay.
Did the exterior cameras, are they going 24/7? So I mean, if, somebody does something, vandalizes the side of a building or what have you, or breaks a window, are we able to capture that?
These
or-
cameras, one day you'll have to get a demonstration because the technology is like NSA type of technology. We can set it to wherever we want. If you set it and records 24/7, that eats your memory up.
Right.
Or you can set it on motion. But they demonstrated the ability to go almost a half a mile and pick up the make of a car across the lake. Another example, I was telling Dr. Dixon, they showed an exit of a doorway, and there was a rack next to it, and there was an item that was there that ended up being stolen. And what they did is they put a square around it after it was gone, and when it was still there, just pushed a button, and it searched the database until that piece changed. And they were able to show a person with a hood on, come and take that book, put it in their coat, and even more importantly, when they took 3 steps and went to the glass door, the camera was so good that they could zoom in on the window, on the door, and pick up the person's face.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, to what extent you have that zooming capability.
You can put a square anywhere and it'll zoom in. It's really the technology that we're getting at the high school, and this will allow us to be top-notch.
Okay. Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Okay, I'll accept a motion to approve F4 related to transportation being impractical for Gross Schlesinger schools and Village Prep.
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
Any discussion, questions?
How many students does this affect?
If you turn, on the next page, there's 3 that are affected.
It's just 3. That's
Yes.
what I was,
And this, again, this is back where Mr. Scott is constantly reviewing the transportation, trying to look for efficiencies, and this is definitely not efficient for us.
and we don't, there's no legal ramification.
No, everything that we do is vetted through the state, through his contact.
What do we do? Give them funds in lieu of?
They have an opportunity to apply for those funds, yes, sir.
But they have to apply for them before
Yes,
we
they do.
give? We just say it's not practical and then it's up to them?
Right.
Okay. Anything else? Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Okay, we can accept, accept a motion for E5, receiving certain donations.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Questions? Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we can, I'll accept a motion to approve G1, financial report.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I will note before you that the only difference, you have your cash position for March, but the 5-year forecast, the only difference in this forecast from the previous one is that I've actually added a line to pull out the reserve for the Kaiser tax complaint so that you can see it separately apart from the way that it was in the forecast before was that the real estate taxes were reduced by that amount, but you didn't see a separate line for that. So in this forecast moving forward, we've actually broken it out so you can see that line item specifically as we move forward.
I think that's good, like the other pullouts you've done, because I think it makes it easier for, instead of having an asterisk that no one's going to notice, it makes it much easier to see little nuances like that that actually have a major impact on our budget.
Correct, absolutely.
So there's two tranches to that. There's what, the 3 million that they, I'm ballparking numbers here, okay? But there's the amount that the Kaiser, basically, there was some judgment that says you're entitled to this, and we are challenging that, thank you. And then they're challenging the whole bit, which is, it was close to 8 or
Correct, it
something,
says,
wasn't it?
yeah, 6.7, almost 7 million.
Okay, 6.7.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yes.
So how long do we think that's going to drag out?
We don't know. So far, there's been no movement on that issue, so it depends on how far it goes or whether or not we're able to work something through with Kaiser, so.
So we're not releasing the 3 million until we know what's going on?
Correct.
Total?
Correct.
Do we already have it?
Oh, yeah, we have
do
those
we have
funds.
it? Oh, okay.
If we're.
The fear would be, though, if we lost this ruling, the state would simply take the money in a subsequent year. They wouldn't allow us to pay it back in increments. They would take the money in full.
That was the question I was going to pose, is that this isn't, okay, there's no
So that's
payment
why you
plan.
put it
It's-
in two places.
Correct. Well, and also because there were the two, as Jim mentioned, the two parts of the lawsuit, so it's broken out separately based on what's challenged and then the total at stake.
Okay. Anything else? Mr. Gaynor?
Ms. Wright?
Yeah.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Soper?
Yes.
Okay, that gets us to the board president's report, and it's 9:20, so I better be quick, huh? Just want to make a note that substitute House Bill 49 passed today, which Scott is working on some of the numbers to see the impact it's actually going to have on us. But there were some things in the bill that it's a little bit troubling. I think it's an additional $1 million for private schools and vouchers. And once it was passed, WCPN had, their cutaway was an 8th grader who goes to St. Adelbert now saying, oh, isn't this wonderful? Now I can go to one of the fine Catholic schools in the community without having to come up with the money. So I thought, gee whiz. So anyway, we have some important stuff happening in regard to this, and I think the issue of choice vouchers being expanded to cover more students is on the table as well. And I think it's actually in Senate Bill 5, but it's on the table, and there's going to be a conference probably that's going to come up in the course of the next couple of weeks. So now is a good time for us to engage our legislators. And as your designated legislative liaison, I'm in the process of crafting some stuff. So if you got any ideas or things that we need to do, it's good. OSBA actually sent us a summary. I think everybody got that. It's worth looking at, and it'll give you a pretty good handle on some of the challenges that we face moving forward. The only other thing that I would say is that Beverly Wright and I went to the Board Leadership Institute a week and a half ago now, I guess. And it was really good, and I think one of the interesting things that I always see is trying to see and figure out the opportunities for networking with other districts. And it turns out that a number of the districts are becoming more aware of some of these issues related to scholarships and vouchers and that kind of thing. That, 2 years ago, everybody was asleep. So it's kind of interesting that the school board members are starting to wake up and understand that they have some political muscle that generally they're not in the habit of using. So it was good from that standpoint. Do we have any unfinished business?
I have one, I have some, I was, for Sandy, where's Sandy? Sandy's there. I have some follow-up questions for you from the equity presentation, so I'll give those to you. That was my only unfinished business. But I do have a question. Do we have anyone who's, a while back, the Heights Community Congress gave us a very good presentation in regard to digital redlining, if you will, the ratings that the Zillow and what have you do.
Right.
Do we have a liaison to them? Because my question would be, what have they done with that? I'm curious if they've done anything subsequent. Do we have a liaison from us?
I think they have just been tracking it. Cal and I were invited and have sort of kept up with them, but I haven't heard anything.
No, and we don't have a formal liaison, I guess, at this point.
No, we don't have a formal liaison.
Yeah, but no,
Is
we
it
can
to
find
feel,
out.
you feel like we need to have?
No, I was just curious, because I figured if one.
Well, actually, I'll make sure to raise that issue
Okay.
and see if they can give us some kind of update.
Okay.
Anything else?
Not under unfinished, I have a new business item.
Okay. Then let's move to new business.
Oh, the only thing, I'm going to give to the superintendent, I've mentioned in passing in different capacities, and the motivation is I've had folks asking in regard to one specific space in the high school of naming. We had a couple of spaces that were named in honor of folks, and I've had one that people were saying, is this going to be renamed? Is it going to be renamed? I'm going to give to the superintendent a list of, there was a couple of spaces that had names, and my suggestion would be that we continue to honor those individuals. And then I have some other suggestions as far as spaces that nobody's going to write a check to put a name on, that I thought there's some spaces that we could honor our district's history as perhaps a catalyst. If people are seeing that we're naming spaces after buildings that we tore down or things like that, that might be a prompt, if you will. So I'll give that list to superintendent.
Okay. Anything else under new business? Okay, any board committee reports? Okay, any correspondence and announcements? Any adjournment?
Want a motion?
I'll accept the motion then.
So moved.
Second. Okay. Mr. Gainer?
Mr. Posh?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.